Hello everyone, I'm Laura Rogers and this is Joelle here, the
Hello, everybody.
our roving reporter. And this is Power Hour. Welcome. This is a show we've been doing Wednesdays at 11 Central for about 7 years, and this is where we talk about Office 365, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Power Apps, all the things that you can do in Microsoft's cloud basically without having to get too technical. This is mostly business user oriented. So, and I send out a newsletter the day before. You all voted on the Power Apps, the new Power Apps print function. So that's what we're going to cover today. And we have a live chat going on. So if you've never joined, wherever you're watching this video, there will be a link at the bottom to fill out the form to join, because we have to manually add you, invite you to Teams. We're using Microsoft Teams for our chat. And I'll show you when I get over to the demo, I'll show you what that little interface looks like to be able to easily chat with us in Teams once you have been invited, and you might need to restart Teams and then go in there. So printing in Power Apps has been something that people have been asking for years, pretty much since Power Apps was brand new. And there have been several ways to achieve it, all kind of awkward and time consuming, but this one is a great one, this new function that they built into Power Apps. So that's what we'll be talking about. And we've kind of touched on other ways to achieve printing in other Power Hours, but we're just going to focus on this function and how it works and pros and cons, and how to kind of finagle it to get it to achieve whatever goal you have with the way you want to print things. All right, so let's go over to my desktop. And at first, I'm going to show you how to chat with us. So once you're in Teams, you'll do your name up here and click. It's going to say like accounts. I don't have any other ones in here to switch to right now, but you'll be able to switch over to the other tenant from whatever your work tenant is. And then once you get in there, you'll have a team called Power Hour and a channel called General. You go to the tab. It's got tabs for every Power Hour, the last few of them. So you go to the tab for today's Power Hour, and then you click the little chat. And when you click the little chat, it toggles this little panel out. So now you can easily watch the video, watch us, and chat at the same time. So that's where we are when we're chatting. All right, so let's get to the Power Apps. Power Apps printing. Okay, so I have a couple of different apps that I'm going to show you, and a couple of different, like I mentioned, some gotchas. So this is the first app that I tried this on, and I'm going to show you the first thing that I noticed. It has to do with the colors, and then I'll show you this other app that I decided to build out more of it, and so you'll be able to see kind of what the options are according to maybe like the way your app looks. So I went to my little travel request app, and I went to this list of current trips, and I can add a print button. So let me go back to a different one that's maybe already, let's see, maybe submitted. Yeah, so this is a different one. I'll show you how to add a print button, and the very easiest way to do it. You can insert a button or anything you want to do the printing. So I'm just going to stick this random button on here, and the function is called print. And it's just print with an open and close parentheses. That's it. So I just say on select of this new button I added. I can just make it say print. And then I'll preview this and try it and see what it looks like. And that is very ugly. So that's the first thing I came across, is that this app that I just happened to try it on is a dark app. And so the way this looks, it doesn't print that color that I had in the app on the actual printout. So it is literally just taking a print screen of whatever is on the screen. It's not going to do any scrolling. It's just going to be, you know, what you see is what you get. That's the exact thing that's going to print, and it's not going to print, like if you've picked one of those color themes in Power Apps that's a darker color theme, it's not going to print that dark color and as part of the printout. So the next thing that I did was I'll go ahead and just go over to the other app that I have, and this one just happens to be a lighter color theme. And so I'm going to show you a few things that I did to work with this and to see kind of how to make it look nice. So I have these projects, and I'm clicking, I can click on a project, I can go back, I'll go to another project. And so these are my different projects, and so I can add a print button. Got like a little hidden one here, but I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. In this case, I used an icon. So what I can do is I'll show you, you know, how to insert that icon that looks like a printer. So there are a ton of icons in here. There are even more now. They added some. So I usually just click on the first icon and then just go do this little search box over here. So if I just search for print, then even though I just added a plus button, it just adds it as a printer, and then I can make it look nicer looking by making it white and make it stand out a little bit like that. And then I can do the same thing. I can say on select and then print, and let's go see what that looks like. Okay, notice, okay, another thing is that whatever the last thing that you chose, whenever you are printing something last, just on your computer, it's going to have the most recent setting in here, all the settings in here for just your own printer settings. So you could, mine was portrait, and I switched it to landscape, and this form looks a little nicer. It looks a little bit more like what it looks like on the screen when I change it to landscape. And you know, of course, you're going to have different little settings according to what your printer is and maybe even what browser you're using. So now I'll go ahead and click cancel. So this is the button that I just added, and I'll go ahead and say delete that one. I'll just go back to this little pretty one that I added earlier and just make it white. Okay, so once you click print, it's just going to take whatever's on the screen, just whatever you see. And you probably don't want it to print some things. So I probably don't want it to print the icon of the printer, which happens to be white, so I don't see it on here. And you probably don't want it to print the buttons, and you might even want it to, when it prints out, it not to look like an editable form. You might want it to look nicer like the view form. So there are a lot of different things you can do to finagle it, and you might want it to look nicer and have some colors and have a background color. So I figured out how to do that as well. All right, so first of all, the way that you can hide these so that they don't show any buttons or any controls at all that you don't want to show when it's printing, you can go to the visible property, and now there's actually a property that will let you determine if the current form is printing or not. So you take whatever your current screen is, dot printing. So let me go to the submit button. And I'll say, go to my visible property. And visible by default is going to be true for everything. So I'll say whatever the name of this screen is, it's SCR form screen, dot, and then printing. See, this is new. What do y'all think? Pretty interesting, huh? So far it's kind of like, crickets chirping. We'll see. Y'all let me know how useful you think this is. I'm really interested to hear your feedback. So now that I've said I don't want it to be visible when it's printing, I want it to be visible when it's not printing. So the opposite of this is not. You can type not, do the not function, or you can just do a little exclamation mark in front of it. So I don't want it to show when it's printing. So now when I click print, Now I made my little printer icon, made it hidden, and I also made the submit button hidden. So now it looks a little nicer. You can also do make it change just the format of the form or go to a completely different screen. So the first thing I'm going to show you is just staying where you are on the form that you're on, and then making it look a little nicer when you hit print. And then we're going to delve into the new screens that they've added for printing. So when I click,
Hey, Laura.
yeah,
Sorry. Deanna, I think it's Deanna. Does the print function work the same if you use Power Apps to customize a SharePoint list form? That's a question.
yes, the print function looks the same no matter what kind of Power App you're in. No matter what kind of Canvas app you're in. You're going to be in your browser, and by default, the customized list forms have that little just kind of small thing off on the side. So that actually might look nice in portrait mode. But there's definitely some finagling you might want to do, which is what the next thing I'm going to show you, by just creating a different screen. So even if you've got one of those types of forms, you'll be able to create a different screen specifically for printing if you want to. And also keep in mind that when people click the print button, there's also a print to PDF. So by default, you're going to have just any user printing something on any computer. It's going to default to whatever their default printer is. But another one of those just built-in options in Windows is to print to PDF. So this could be another just sort of simple way of giving people the ability to convert something into a PDF. It's a little manual. I mean, obviously it's not generating the PDF itself, but it gives them just the option to do that if they want. All right, so instead of just saying on select print it, I'm going to say view form, and then do my form with my projects in it, and then print. So I'm on the same screen, I haven't gone anywhere, and it switches it to the view form mode. So to me, that still looks really ugly. I think it's even uglier than the edit mode. But then the cool thing is that you can even, so now it's stuck in view mode. You can even make it do something after you print it. So let me go back to one of these items and go back to this print button. So after it pulls up the little print option, I want it to go back to edit form maybe. My form projects. And then it will print it. It switches over to, this view form. It pulls it up for printing. I print it, do whatever. I'm just going to click cancel. But then it does the next action. So that's kind of nice. So the first action was view form, the second action was print, the third action was edit form. So then after I either print it or click cancel, it's going to do that next action, and so it put it back in an edit form for me. Now let's delve into what we can do with these new screens. So I've got this little these new screens that you'll now notice in Power Apps. Now you could create two different screens. You can have one that's a portrait, and you could have one that's landscape, and you could even when people print something, you could give them two different print buttons that would take them to two different screens, and kind of create an interface that allows people to pick which one of these they want to go to. But I'm going to go ahead and just pick a landscape print. So all it does when you create this, use one of these screens, is it gives you a screen with a little label on it that's just got the print function in it and says print. Let's see. Yeah, it's just got the print function. So it's very, very plain. So the thing about this screen that it creates is it's got this certain width and height. Oops, the width and height of the screen are geared towards fitting in that type of paper. So that's the screen that I created. So let me go ahead and show you. I went ahead and created one of these, a print screen, a little bit ahead of time, so I can show you some of how nice it can look. I called it SCR print. And then I'll show you what this one is going to look like. So what I can do is use this as, I don't need to have a submit button in this because no one's ever going to be going to this screen and submitting anything. I can just completely delete the submit button. But I can use this as the screen that is the thing that gets printed. So when someone is on that regular form that they're filling out my form screen, and they click print, instead of just printing that screen, I can say navigate. I'll just start all over here. Navigate to SCR prints. And then I'll do a view form. And then what is the name of the form on that print screen? That is, I'm going to rename this because when I copied to all these controls to this new screen, they all just have these copied names. Now what I did is it took a minute, so I created this new screen using the new screen template, and then I went to my existing screen with the form on it and just did a select all and just copied all the controls and pasted them over here. So all the time that I spent like kind of rearranging things and finagling them, that's what I wanted to get done ahead of time. So that's why these controls all have these weird names, because I just copied them off of my other form control because most of the work was already done. Okay, so again, this is FRM projects print. And then I'll go back to my form screen, back to what I was doing here, this formula that I was in the middle of writing. FRM projects print. So I'll navigate and then view the form and then print. Let's try that. And then I probably want to go back here too, right? Let's see. All right, look at that. And you can tell it's a completely different screen because it's got this gray that I did on it. And so there are a few things that I noticed about the colors and how to make the colors look the way you want. I don't like just the out-of-the-box way that it looks with a view form where it's just white on white and it's very ugly. And so what I did was I ended up putting a rectangle. So rectangles apparently will show their color in the prints and labels won't. So this little project information form thing across the top of the screen, it was just a label that says project information form, and I stuck a purple rectangle behind it. And that's how I was able to achieve when I print this to actually look more like my form does, so that I could print it. And then notice that I didn't have it navigating back to the other one after I print it. So that's going to be the next step. So after I go to this lovely form screen, click print. After it prints, then I need to navigate back to my, let me make this, I'm trying to get used to this new little arrow over here. Format text. Okay, so it navigates, does a view form, prints, and then just navigates me back to where I was. And go. So navigate, pull up the print, and then you can click print. And now see it, now it took me back to my other screen with the edit form. All right, so here's what I had to do to make it look a little nicer. So I got this brand new one that I created. I wanted to show you kind of the end result before I showed you kind of all these steps that I'm doing, just so you can kind of see why I'm doing it. Does that make sense? Do we have any questions, Joelle? If you wanted an 8.5 by 11 page, how would you size that? How many pixels is that? I think that is what that's built for. A4 printing, landscape A4 printing. A4 printing is 8.5 by 11, isn't it, Joelle? Do you know?
I can't remember if that is or not. If A4 is different, I have to look.
Yes,
It's pretty
so Deborah
close. It's
answered
close.
that.
Yeah.
What, Joelle?
I was just saying that it's pretty close.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go through some of the steps that I did to achieve that. And so I created this new screen. And then I'll just take, again, my form screen that I have that I've already created. And I'll take my form and my label on top of the form. And I'm just going to copy those. And paste. So you can see this could be a little time consuming because the screen that you're pasting it on isn't the exact same size as the form screen that I had it on. So there is a little kind of rearranging to do with the fields. So I can kind of, spend some time getting these looking like, what I want them to fit. So if you have a lot of fields, it's not going to scroll. So notice I've got this scrolling thing because I've got like some kind of weirdness happening here. I don't want this to be scrolling because if it's scrolling, then whatever's down below is not going to get printed. I'm just going to take this off for now, this attachments thing. So if you want this screen print to look nice, you're going to have to just cram everything and make it fit on one screen. So you might have to make fonts smaller. You might have to get rid of some of the padding in between the cards and kind of put, fit more fields in there. So that's kind of some work that might be a little time consuming. So here's what I did. Let me just slap another print button on here real quick so you can kind of see what this looks like. Oops, as I do it, I'll put it up here. On select, print. So again, let's go look at what it looks like by default. And see, it's all white. So I don't want it to look like that. I might want to just leave it in edit mode. Joelle, what do you think about that? About the way edit mode looks compared to the view where it removes all the little boxes.
Yeah.
See, it's going like this. And it's just the view, when the form is in view mode, it has no boxes, it's just text. So you might want to just leave it in edit. So here's what I did is even in view mode, here's what you can do. You can go to the list of icons and there's a rectangle in here. And you can also insert them from the left side too. But I'm going to take a rectangle and I'm going to put it behind my form control. Reorder, just send it to the back. And I'm going to make it be gray, just like light gray. And then I'm going to make it be the same size as the form control. So I'm going to say I want the width to be the same as this FRM projects _1 dot width. Basically, I'm going to take all the dimensions, the width and everything of this rectangle, and I'm going to make it be the same as that form control just so it sits directly behind it. So I'll go to my Y. I say I want it to be the form projects _1 dot Y. I've got the width and the height, dot height, and the X. So I'm referencing that project. So now notice that my rectangle, I didn't even take the corners and drag it or anything. My rectangle now fits exactly behind the form control. And now let's try that print again. And see, it looks a little nicer. So now I can do the same thing. If I want this bar up here to be purple, I'll just insert a new rectangle. Go to my little, so many icons now. It's like the quantity of icons that are in PowerPoint. PowerPoint's got a lot of them. So I'll take this rectangle and I can make it also be, the same size as the label. I need it to be behind the label. So I'm just going to send it all the way to the back. And then the label needs to be clear. So here's my label right here that I'm selecting. For its fill color, I'm just going to go to my home tab here and do fill and make it clear. So now this label, it looks exactly the same, but the label itself is clear, and I put a purple rectangle next to it. So now when I click print, now it looks more like I kind of want it to. I might not want it to print that dark of a gray, right? So I might either want to make that gray a little lighter or just not do the thing with the big gray box. And then, of course, quick quiz, how do you make something so that it doesn't show when you print something? Let you all ponder that, see if you remember. It is the name of the screen you're on. In this case, my screen is just screen 1. That's that brand new one that I created as we were talking. Dot, and then printing is the very first thing that shows there. So this is a Boolean. So is screen 1 currently printing, yes or no? So I don't want it to be visible when it's printing. I want it to be visible when it's not printing. So now I can see the button, I can click print, and then that button is not there. So you can do that for all the different buttons and controls that you don't want to see. And then that other step that I can do is change it to a view form. So I could be navigating to this screen from somewhere else. And also when I do that, let me go back to the on select. And the name of that form is FRM projects _1. Let's see. So what do y'all think about kind of the way that looks? So now see, it's in view mode. But since I put that big gray rectangle behind it, it looks a little nicer. And do you all need it to be portrait? Let's look at portrait. So I want it to be portrait. I can do another new screen. And then again, I can start out from scratch by just inserting a new form control, or I can just take my form control that I already created and copy that. I can just like select all. I can just copy everything on that screen if I want to. Copy. And go to my new portrait screen. It called itself screen 2. And just paste it. But then I've just got a lot of work to do to cram things and rearrange them to make them fit into that portrait mode. And also remember that when somebody clicks print, it's going to, their default setting for portrait and landscape is just going to remember whatever their last one was on their printer. So there isn't a way to control what that setting is, even if your screen looks like it's a certain size. Deborah says, I wonder why they defaulted the screens to A4. I don't know. Let's see. So Anne says, when you print a PDF, do you get a file save dialog box? Yes. So let me show you what that looks like. Let me go back to this one. Print and choose save as PDF. And then, of course, I've got some more settings in here for my printer. And then when I click save, so that's going to be kind of an ugly name. It's got the name of the app here, and it just says saved unpublished, which is just because I'm in the middle of working on the app and I haven't published it yet. So it's just basically taking whatever's here in the title bar and it's putting that as potentially the name of the file when they save it. But that's how they can, when you print a PDF, that's what it will prompt them to do. So yeah, they'll have to know how to pick a location, how to get around in their own computer and remember where they saved it, etc. That went by way too fast. Let's see what else. Yeah, yeah, that's true. So the gray, it might use up too much ink. That's a good point. So you might not want to put the gray. To me, it looks so plain and white, and just flat and boring with no definition around any of the fields. And you do have this little white box around the fields, but it's you could go into every card and inside of every card and add maybe little shapes and little squares around things to change the way it looks. But when you go to a view form, it's going to strip out, all the just little boxes around everything, and it's gonna look very plain. So let's go, here's my rectangle again. I can make the rectangle be, let's see, look at my fill color, like sort of lighter. So I kind of made it a half clear in order as a cheap way of making it lighter. So that one looks a little bit better and maybe not waste as much ink. Dale says, can you get a flow to start when you print? Yep, you can, because that's just an action. To trigger a flow, so having to do with, just kind of off on a tangent, having to do with flow and power apps, I usually, as much as I can, I have my flow trigger off of the data source, like something happening in SharePoint, something getting created in SharePoint, the item getting modified. I usually base it off, have the trigger be off of SharePoint, but you can go into Power Apps and create a button that kicks off a flow. You can click Power Automate here and have it trigger the flow directly from the Power App. I just usually don't have the need to do that. Usually it's sufficient just triggering it from the item in SharePoint. So let's do Larry's asking about having a reminder pop up before printing. And yeah, Deborah says she would definitely do it on a separate screen. And Craig is saying, what are the use cases for this? Oh yeah, I mean, pretty much, I don't know, Joelle, I don't know about you, but every single Power Apps project pretty much that I've ever been on, they've wanted to print, and it's been just a painful endeavor up till now.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually like, I feel like the ones I see that most are like internal forms. That's the kind that usually get printed, right? Like, what I mean by that, like, I guess anything's internal, but I mean like HR form type things. It's like things I usually see people wanting to print. You know what I mean? Not like general business applications, but like, oh, it's a request for this. I want to have a print out of that, to be able to keep. So, and HR likes to have paper. Sorry, HR. We know it's true.
Yeah, or sometimes they need to be able to send a vendor a PDF of something, or send a legal, like if you're working with a legal team on something and you have an internal form that you filled out and you just need to be able to send a copy of it to the lawyer as a PDF. I spent about 50 to 100 hours on a project before all this came out, before this print function came out, before the cool little Word template thing came out. And I was just doing it in straight HTML, and it took so long to get this printout that looked exactly like the other, the external people needed to have it look and expected it to look when it was emailed to them. So this is going to be a big time saver. So that was it. So let's go ahead and go to that concept of printing in portrait versus landscape. So this is I'll call this SCR landscape. And then this one can be SCR portrait. And I haven't configured this or rearranged anything. It looks kind of messy. I've got this like other thing that I was doing with attachments down here. And I can spend a little bit of time when I'm doing this in portrait to rearrange the way things look in here to get it to fit better. So one of the things that you can do when you're getting cards to fit better, and this is very time consuming, but you can go in here and the parent width, the width of the control inside of the card defaults to parent width minus 60. Sometimes I'll change that to like 20 or 30. And same goes for the little label here, parent width minus 60. So if you go into every single individual one of these and change their X and change their width, their relation to the parent width, you can save a little bit of that space. I'm just going to change this to 30 there. Then it goes all the way to the edge. 30 is usually what I do. And then that will give you the ability to fit more things next to each other, because if you squish it too short, see, it cuts off the letters like that. So that kind of helps in being able to make more space. All right, and then I put my submit button inside of the attachments. So if this is a thing that I'm printing, I don't need the submit button. So my submit button is in my attachments data card. Delete that and shorten that. Okay, and then what is this data card? Oh, that's a gallery. Okay, so I'm going to leave that alone. And so this is going to be my portrait screen. And I don't need to put the print button on this screen because I'm just going to use it to basically send them to it and print it. Now I can also, if I've got a form control that I'm just using that I'm printing something to, I can just go to the default mode. And instead of the form being in default mode of edit, if I want it to be that view mode that doesn't have like all the little drop down boxes and things showing, I can make it be view. So see, this is what the view mode looks like. Like I said, it's very, very plain. So that's something that you can put as the default on your print screen if you want to, but it's very ugly. But you know, with the print screen, if it's just going to be very static, and you're going to do everything you can to make sure that nothing's ever going to expand or scroll, and it's going to be exactly what you get is what prints, then as long as there's no scrolling happening, one thing you'll be able to do is you can go add maybe some rectangles and stick them over the form control. Again, since if you don't expect it to ever scroll and everything's just going to be where you have it, you could put those like little lines like that, rectangles, to kind of divide your rows to make it look a little nicer, right? Okay, so let's go back to this concept that we're doing with our form. So on the form screen, when I click print, I want to pop up to ask me if I want it to be portrait or landscape. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do now. So instead, on select, I'm not going to navigate and view form and all that stuff. On select, on this print button, it's going to pop up and ask me. So since this is just one of those little extra things, so since we still have 20 minutes left, I showed you the gist of everything, but now this is just like a little fun add-on that I didn't necessarily plan ahead of time, but it's based on your questions. So, and welcome, Zach. Thanks for showing up. He's telling everybody he's late. That's funny. Yes, you're right, Stacy. Modifying forms is a huge pain. I agree. I do it as little as possible. Try to make the most of what I can do without having to dig inside of the cards and change things. Sometimes you just have to. Okay, so I'm going to have another. I'm loving the rectangles today. I'm going to have another rectangle that pops up. And every time I have a pop-up, I like to put a big gray rectangle behind that too. So I like to have a big gray one and make it gray and make it kind of clear. And then make it be behind that pop-up. Okay, and then on top of this pop-up, I'm going to have a couple of buttons. I'm going to put a label that says print this or something, whatever you want it to say. I'll make it white. You can center it. And then put two little buttons. You could even do like a landscape button, a portrait button, and a cancel button. So you could do 3 buttons if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep it simple. And I'm going to do portrait and change the color of that. Make it a little lighter and make my font darker. And then copy and paste that and have that be landscape. And then when someone clicks either one of these, the portrait one is going to take them to, first of all, they have to click the print button, and the print button is going to pop this up. So the print button itself is this icon. I didn't rename it, so I'll call it ICO print. The print button, when they click it, is going to set their pop-up to true. So that's going to make the pop-up show, and then all of these, I could group those two. I'm kind of hurrying through this. So then var pop-up is the value. So when I click print, that pops up. Ooh, I didn't I don't want this to have a hover on it. That's very ugly, right? I don't want that to, that big purple, that big gray one to turn purple when I hover over it. So that's going to be this rectangle. So I'll just change it to have I'm going to change its display mode. Just one way to do this, to disabled. And then I go to its disabled fill, and I'll just change that to be that. That's going to be that sort of clear gray. Okay, so then I click the print button, all this stuff appears, and I can choose portrait or landscape, and then that's where I want the portrait one to navigate me on select, to navigate to SCR portrait. And did I name the other one? Hold on. SCR portrait, and then print, and then navigate back to the screen that I'm on. And then I don't even have to do like a view form or an edit form. If I have the form on the portrait screen already has a default mode of edit or view or whatever I decide that I like the way it looks, then I don't have to do that other command. So then this set of commands, I'll just have it so that this other button kind of does the same thing, except it's just going to the other screen. And the other screen is SCR landscape. So me. Okay, now let's see. Oh, and also after it does this, it needs to turn this variable off. So I'm just going to say when it arrives on this screen form screen, it's going to set this variable var pop-up to false. So that just when it comes back, that little thing disappears. Portrait. Oh, look at that. So it navigated to me to the other screen. Now remember, my setting on my computer was set to landscape. So again, there's not a way that you can automatically configure that. But look how nice that one looks. I added a little rectangle to make it look like a line going across. So again, if people are not going to be scrolling on this printable screen, they're not even going to be on it. So what you see is what you get. So that's what gives me the ability to add rectangles that are just on top of this form control. Usually when I have a form control and I'm filling out and it's potentially scrolling down the screen, I don't want to stick any kind of shapes on top of the form control because then they won't scroll with it. And I don't want them to be behind it because then it would look odd with the shapes staying static and the form scrolling. But since this is not scrolling, that's why I was able to stick this rectangle on top of it. So then I could print this, and then now it takes me back, and then I'll say, all right, print this, and I'll do landscape and change my setting here to landscape. So this is the other screen. Remember on this landscape screen, I left the gray box there and I didn't put a rectangle going across it, but that's doing the trick. And then it's taking me back to this screen. It doesn't even look like it navigated to a screen, right? It just went to it, popped up, then it's taking me back. And now I'm back on the form that I was editing. Pretty slick, huh? All right, let's see. Oh, that pretty much wraps it up. Is there anything else? That was a good idea to do the little sort of pick portrait versus landscape thing. That was kind of fun. Joelle, did you see any other ideas or questions in there?
I think I saw a few. Let me see. I'm looking to see now.
Y'all are going to go implement this immediately in all of your Power Apps projects. I feel like I have so many customers that I need to send emails to saying, hey, let's go add this print function, even though I already spent hours getting it to print like the old other way, the way that you had to do it before.
Some of these questions you may have answered.
Oh,
There was
okay.
one, Eileen asked, why do you need to use the print screen? Why not just a print action on another screen? Does that...
Oh, you don't have to.
So,
It's just an idea. That's why
okay.
that was the first thing that I showed was just hitting print and just staying on the same screen.
Yeah.
And then I was showing basically if you want the printout to look a very specific way and you have things arranged a certain way and you have a certain size of your screen, then that's why you would want to create separate screens. But yeah, that's not required. It's up to you.
And then another question, can you have it print to PDF and automatically email someone?
No.
Email to someone.
No.
Sorry.
That's what you'd use the old way for.
The
That's where
converting.
you'd go either use that Word template premium action and flow that lets you
Yeah.
create a Microsoft Word document as your template, apply out all the fields into it, and then it generates a Word document, and you put that in OneDrive, and then you do the action that converts that Word document to PDF, and then you take an action that takes that PDF and emails it to somebody or puts it or creates it somewhere else. So yeah, that's possible, but just not using this function.
And then if you have a screen that requires scrolling, will it spill to multiple pages?
No, you can't do scrolling with this. So if your screen that you are on when you're printing requires scrolling, you are just going to get a printout of whatever's on the screen right then, and you'll see the scroll bar, but it's not going to automatically scroll. And you could do a print and then do a print of that and then scroll down to the second half and then print that, but it's not going to scroll for you. So that's one of the big negatives to this is that's one of the big negatives. It's just a screenshot, basically. Yeah, so that's why I was taking all that time or you could potentially take extra time to have a special screen that's just for printing where you make sure that everything is crammed into that one screen and is not going to have to scroll. So that would be a reason to use another screen. If you
Yeah.
want to give them plenty of real estate when they're filling out the form and then create this other screen where it's all just like, shoved in there, then do that. What is Win key Shift S? So Zach says I'll tell them to use Win key Shift S. Let's see.
Is that print
Win
screen?
key Shift S. Oh, that's cool. That's like a screen snipping. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same result, right? Chrissy says she's so excited despite having to print but have processes. I know, I feel that same way about printing, where when the department says, "Hey, can you make this print out?" You're like, "Why? You don't need to print that." Yeah.
It's just always.
Lise says, "Can't you add the send email formula after the semicolon to send email after it's printed?" Lise, you can send an email after it's printed, but it's not going to be of that. It's not going to be of the printout. Because when you're using the send an email action, you
Yeah.
have to tell it what goes in the body of the email. And this thing that's in the screenshot is not like an object that you can
Yeah, you can't
cram into
attach it
the
or anything.
email.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Zach says pagination variables. That would be nice. Getting creative there. Yeah, so I know so many people just wanting this to do a little bit more, but I still think it's huge. I mean, because you're always going to want it to then immediately be a PDF or then immediately email somebody, but you're not right now, you're not going to get the best of both worlds. You're either going to do it the long painful way, or you're going to just get basically a screenshot. So that's what we have to work with right now, and so that's the other option is there. It's just very, very time consuming. All right. So Zach says, can't it be stored as an attachment and then added to an email? So the person clicking the print button can take this, save as a PDF, and put it as a PDF on their computer. Remember where the PDF is, and then go start a new email in Outlook and attach that PDF to it. Yes, they can do that. Our end users, that's no problem, right? They'll know how to do that. It's a lot of work. It's either them doing a lot of work, the end user's doing a lot of work, and saving it as a PDF and then remembering where it is, and then starting an email and then adding that as an attachment, or it's you doing hours and hours of work to build all this as a flow instead of using the print function. So right now it's a lot of give and take. Yeah, hopefully they will increase the functionality as much as you can. I mean, I'm not sure what they have to work with as far as the way, I don't have no idea the way computers send things to printers and what their options are, because you have people using all different browsers. This is basically the print for my browser, but all different browsers are going to have different print settings, right? And different operating systems are going to have different prints. So that's probably what makes this pretty tricky.
Yeah.
Tim says, is there a previous power hour that shows the long poopy way to print? I know this is in my training class, in my advanced Power Apps training class, and I feel like we've mentioned it in Power Hour, because I feel like it's something I talk about all the time, but I don't know off the top of my head which Power Hour it would be. So
I'll take a
I'll have
quick
to
look if
ponder
we
that.
did.
It's definitely in my advanced Power Apps training class. So I'll go ahead and wrap.
And I know you covered it. You covered it on an Ultimate members call too.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that?
So we have a membership level called Ultimate at our company, IW Mentor, and we have these Ultimate office hours calls once every 3 weeks, and we record them all. So if you're an Ultimate member, meeting number 3 is where we we spent the whole hour going through all the steps of how to use that, do the Word template option. That's the one where you use the premium connector. And then, and then the other way is the way where you write HTML and you basically loop through. It's going to Power Hour somewhere, but I just have to go find it or try to remember which
Yeah, I'm
one.
looking
Because
now
it
to
could have been a
see.
Power Hour about something else where I just happened to do
Yeah.
that too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and we have our live online class. It is in less than 2 weeks. It is April 19th through 23rd. Advanced Power Apps and Power Automate. The first 3 days is Power Apps. The next 2 days is Power Automate. It's about 4 hours a day, very immersive, live online. And it's on our website, iwmentor.com. you can go to the schedule button at the top, and that's where you'll see all the power hours, and that's where you'll see those. And then let's see, what else was I going to say? I'm speaking at something in a couple of weeks online, and I'll just go ahead and just do a blog post about that. I did just write a blog post about that form editor that we did in Power Hour a couple of months ago, but it's just more kind of all written out about the form editor that's built into SharePoint list forms. Lisa says, do you have to pay for each premium connector separately? No. Once you're paying premium, you get all the premium connectors. All right, and let me go and show you where you can find the Power Hour schedule. Here is our website. Here's the schedule. So if you ever wonder if we're having Power Hour, this is where you can find that. And then here's our live online class, Advanced Power Apps and Power Automate. It's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to having you there. There are about 28 seats left in it. And you all have a good Wednesday afternoon, and we'll see you next week. See, it's right here. I'll go merge. Thanks, Joelle. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Everybody.
I think I have to count to 15 or so.